Okay, this is an introductory video into sequences and series. So first let me introduce you to terminology. So A sub n is the nth term in a sequence. So we might say that, for example, let's say that A sub n equals 2n plus 3. Then that's an expression for how I can calculate any term in the sequence. So for example, let's suppose we wanted to know the third term in the sequence. Then I would just say n is 3. So A sub 3 is 2 times 3 plus 3. Well, that's 6 plus 3, which equals 9. So the third term in this sequence is 9. Or you could say A sub n equals n times n plus 1. There's another sequence. And so the third term in this sequence is when n is 3. So I put 3n for this n and 3n for this n. And I get 3 times 3 plus 1, which is 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. Or here's another expression for a sequence, a term in a sequence. Let's say A sub n is 2n factorial. Now, factorial means that you multiply successively, starting with that number, going all the way down to 1. So, for example, 5 factorial would be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. That's what factorial means. So right here, let's suppose we want to know the nth term, the third term in this sequence. And so we would put 3n for n, so I'd have 2 times 3 factorial. Well, that's 2 times, and then 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1, which is 2 times 6, which is 12. So that's how we write the nth term of a sequence. Now, S sub n is the sum of n terms in a sequence. So let's say, for example, this sequence right here, okay? Let's say that we want to know what S3 is. Well, that means that we want to know the sum of the first 3 terms. A sub 1, A sub 2, and A sub 3. Well, we already know A sub 3, we found it a while ago, all right? Well, what is A sub 1? Well, A sub 1 is when we put 1 in. So A sub 1 is 1 times 1 plus 1, which is 1 times 2, which is 2. So 2 would go up here. And then A sub, and I'll tell you what, we'll just do it in a different color here. 2 would go right here. And then A sub 2 is when we put 2 in for n. So we've got 2 times 2 plus 1, which is 2 times 3, which is 6. So 6 would go right there. So that means that S sub 3 would equal 2 plus 6 plus 12, which is 20. So the sum of the first 3 terms is 20. Well, another way to write the sum of a term, or of a sequence of terms, is using the sum symbol. So the sum of n terms might look like this. K, we're going to use a different letter now. K equals 1 to n. So I want the first term, the second term, the third term, the fourth term, all the way until I get to the nth term of some sequence. Okay, so for example, to write this S sub 3, when that's my sequence, to write that in this notation, it would look like this. S sub 3 equals K equals 1 to 3, you see n is 3, of A sub K. Well, A sub K is really my A sub n, so I would write it like this. S sub 3 equals the sum of, from K equals 1 to 3, of A sub K, but really, instead of putting n now, I'm going to put K in, K times K plus 1, because that's my A sub K that I'm using. All right, and so then we would put 1 in and find that term. we would put 2 in and find that term, and we would put 3 in and find that term. And that's how we would use the sum symbol to calculate the sum of a sequence of terms. Now, there is one more term I want to explain. I'm going to erase my sum stuff to do it. And it's called a recursive formula for a sub n. So let's suppose that a sub n equals 4 plus a sub n minus 1. This is called a recursive formula. A recursive formula is a formula for a sub n that uses a previous term in the sequence to calculate any other term. So for example, I can't calculate, say, a sub 3 here unless, so a sub 3 would equal 4 plus a sub 3 minus 1, which is really a sub 2. So I would have to know a sub 2 before I could calculate a sub 3. So when you have a recursive formula, you have to be given a previous a. Let's suppose then that we're given that a sub 1 equals 5. All right, well then let's start with that and let's find a sub 2. Well then a sub 2 would be 4 plus, and then a sub 2 minus 1. Well, a sub 2 minus 1 is really a sub 1. And I know a sub 1. I'm given a sub 1. Remember, for a recursive formula, you have to be given another term, a previous term in the sequence. So this is going to be 4 plus 5, which is 9. So now I know a sub 2, and now I can calculate a sub 3 because a sub 3 is equal to 4 plus a sub 2. And that's going to be 4 plus 9, which is 13.